and loving the color scheme that you're bringing us here this morning with a lot of these pieces, because this matches back to anything. Anything that you've already purchased for home decor, for your Christmas in July or last year or the year before, will match back to any of these pieces because they're so neutral. So brand new today, we have the Nativity set in this lighted stable. So everything that you're gonna see in the show has Christmas in July sale pricing. So in this case, $99.89. And everything has easy pay as well. So perfect opportunity to pick up those collector's pieces. In this case, 5 easy payments. So $19.98 gets it home. It's H216299, only order of the year. And the easy pay goes away at the end of the year too. So I'm sorry, end of the day, end of the year. This isn't gonna last the month, forget the year. Okay, but aside from this being absolutely stunning, if we're not familiar with your pieces, because I've seen them on shelves in stores, but I never heard the story. This has a lot of hand detail throughout, is that right?
Well, Kathy, this particular part of the collection is a little bit of a departure from what I normally do. As far as my colorways and that sort of thing. The folks out there that are familiar with my line know that generally my color palette is a very wide, color palette, and I use everything from jewel tones to the more muted earth tones and that sort of thing. But there's generally a lot to it color-wise. Well, that's great for an art piece or a figurine or a standalone piece that you're going to display for the purposes of the piece.
Right.
But if you want something that's going to blend with your decor that you can decorate around, decorate with, sometimes it's easier to do if you have something that is in the more neutral palette.
Right.
And I've done this coloration for that very purpose for many, many, many years, but just recently it's been to the point where I've actually brought these pieces forward and put them on the line. Now, this is part of the Heartwood Creek collection, but it is called the White Woodland Group.
Okay.
That's what we call this because it's got sort of a Northwoods flavor. It's it emphasizes animals. It emphasizes some of the natural textures and so forth that you'd find in nature, and it was actually inspired initially. The first piece I did of this was St. Francis.
Oh.
And of course, it was a natural with all the animals and stuff, but it looks so good and it fits so good thematically that we said, okay, let's kind of spread this, across the whole line. So this piece that you're seeing in front of you here, this is obviously a nativity.
Right.
We've got the Holy
With the
Family,
twist.
and you've got, it's a little bit of a switch here because you've got the woodland animals that are paying, tribute and homage to the birth of Christ, just like you would normally see, the sheep and the donkeys and stuff like that. So that adds a little bit of interest, but a little bit of whimsy too.
Right.
And then the fact that we're using this kind of birch bark type, embellishment here is gives it some visual texture that you wouldn't ordinarily see in a nativity.
Yeah.
But that, along with the more refined base, the detailing on the base is more like the Hindelupin style rose malling elements that I like to use. And of course, the people out there that are familiar with rose malling, the Norwegian, the Scandinavian artwork that found its way through Europe and eventually found its way here with the early settlers and the early immigrants and so forth, that it eventually morphed into what we sort of collectively call Pennsylvania Dutch, which is a variation of the word Deutsch. It's actually directly from the German Fraktur, and people that study this kind of stuff know that, and I try to sort of educate them on it, because that's the core of my artwork, and if they're interested in it, then it makes a nice conversational subject to talk around when they talk about my particular artwork. And you can see that sort of thing even up here in the top here. You can see the elements, the stylized florals and these comma strokes, as they call them, that make up the elements of rose marling, which is based on, and everybody I think will, I've been over this so many times, I'm sure they know. It's based on a Rococo design with the combination of the C and the S shape, and then it's embellished from there. So that's
all that movement.
I use that along with quilt patterns, which, you know, it's been sort of the anchor of my artistic motif. Okay.
It turns on.
We're going to turn it on if I can.
3 AAA batteries, by the
find
way.
The switch.
There you go.
There we go.
So look at that, it's a little glow. And you know what, you were saying with the color scheme that you've chosen for a lot of the pieces this morning.
There we go.
They'll match back, so we could actually pick up this one. We have the Santa coming up a little bit later that's also oversized as this piece is, and we could really create like a whole little village.
That's what we do at my house. You know, my wife Jan, she is a force of nature when it comes to decorating. Well, we have 12 trees that we put up.
No way.
Yeah. And anything that's in the house, whether it's the banisters or the buffet or the mantle, if it doesn't move, it gets decorated. So
God bless her, that's a lot of work.
So I don't do much napping in the house.
Yeah.
You know, I wake up with tinsel on me or something. But what we like to do is take a piece like this, and it's nice to have a nativity that's compact like this. You know, you can send it to school with your, you know, if your kids are away at college and they want something to decorate the dorm room, they don't have a lot of space, something like this is really good. On the back of it, there's plenty of room on the back, and I've done this intentionally, left this back so that if you give this as a gift, or if it's part of your, you know, your family history or becomes part of your traditions, you can actually write your family names, you can write a sentiment, you can write some kind of story or something interesting about your Christmas experience that will stay with you year after year.
That's
So,
great. And
it's a nice feature.
Yeah, and actually, Jim does that in a lot of his pieces. Even the smaller ornaments, you could do something like that to personalize with. I just want to remind you that this is brand new today, and the 5 easy payments of less than $20 also goes away at the end of the day. H216299. I didn't get to mention this, but it is pretty oversized, just under 12 inches high and just under 9 inches in width, and then the depth is about 5 inches there. So
And it's pretty
about
heavy.
the size of a book.
It's pretty heavy too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
these are
good, solid, substantial piece. So,
They really are.
you'll be very happy with
They
that
really
if you pick that one up.
Now, I'm not sure if we'll have time for a full presentation of this nutcracker because it's incredibly limited